Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Hi, everyone. We are waiting for our today's invitee, Mrs. Eunice Carvalho, for this fourth Tropic Business Summit. I hope you're doing good and you're well. Hi, Mrs. Carvalho. Thanks for being with us. I cannot hear you because your mic is off.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, that's good. Thanks for being with us and for having this chat, and thanks for Tropic Business Summit for having us here. So we have a few questions for you today. But before we start, let's just introduce you. So Mrs. Eunice Carvalho is a UNITEL Chief Corporate Affairs Officer, and you have an experience in corporate social responsibility executive. And Intel is the number one telecommunication company in Angola with 80% of the market share. Did I forget something, or do you have something to add on this presentation, maybe?
No, I think you summed it up well. Just want to thank you and the organizers for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here today and spend some time talking.
Thank you. So we have a lot of questions, of course, and the first one is, what's the status of communication in Angola at the moment?
Sure. I will focus specifically on mobile, that is voice and data, but mobile, leaving fixed to the side. Angola is a country of approximately 30 million people, and we estimate that about 14 million of them are mobile phone voice customers, and there are about 6 million Angolans online. So our penetration rate is still not exactly what we would like. It's growing. Companies like UNITEL, we have our coverage of our network in all 18 provinces of the country. So in most cities, most municipalities, we do have coverage. However, we always look at, it's just not a matter of having coverage, but whether it is accessible financially for people to take advantage of those services, whether it is the cost of the services themselves or phones, tablets, computers, whatever you might need to be able to get online. So it is improving drastically, but it is we still have some way to go.
So what's just a precision? You said there are 6 million people connected. What does it represent when you talk about the Angola, the country, the entire country?
It's still a fairly small percentage because Angola, we estimate it has about 30 million people. However, Angola, like many countries in Africa, is a country where the population is quite young. Over 60% of our population is under 18 years of age. And obviously, there is a financial power that is involved with the use of these services in general. And so if you start off with a population that's quite young, as is the case with Angola, is still a relatively small percentage of our population that's online.
Yeah, and so we were talking about youth. How increased connectivity in the continent is bringing opportunities for the youth. How would you say in the continent, and maybe specifically in Angola? What are the opportunities for them?
Sure. I think that connectivity is just bringing opportunities to the entire world. I think that when you look at the African continent, we're lagging a bit behind for obvious reasons to what is happening elsewhere in the world, but we are not left out of this digital transformation that we've been talking about, which is, the new sort of revolution that's taken over the world. And it's not talking about the future, it's things that are happening today, including here in Africa. And it impacts young people the same way it impacts the general population, but in a way that allows them to learn better, because through connectivity, you have more access to education. You don't have to be in the big cities anymore. You can have long distance learning. Your healthcare through telemedicine, you can have access to health services at a distance. Your economic opportunities are much greater. The marketing that you can do is cheaper. You get quicker to the customer. And so for young people, it is particularly a wonderful opportunity. And when we look at connectivity and the whole issue of digital transformation, we think about the jobs of the future. So there's
Yeah.
a whole avenue of new jobs that are being created now. We would say that by 2030, for example, someone who does not have basic knowledge of programming will be considered illiterate.
Yeah.
And so that means that a lot of the jobs of the future have that as a requirement. Can we be now training and developing our young people so that
Mm.
they'll be ready for the future? What professions exist today that will become irrelevant in
Yeah.
this new world? And that's the framework that we need to be looking at our young people, and how it is not just about connectivity, about the social networks and socializing, but how
Yeah.
do they develop as professionals and as people?
Okay. And just, do you think the youth are aware of those opportunities? It is said that 80% of the jobs that we know now won't exist tomorrow. So do you think that you feel like they are aware that connectivity is bringing new opportunities, or they are still looking, searching themselves into this new kind of
Sure.
life?
I think we still have a long way to go. I think that a lot of our young people, and I will speak specifically about Angola, they still look at connectivity from a social and entertainment standpoint, and
Yeah.
not so much about their professions in the future and what the future will look like. And it is up to us, telecom companies like Unitel and others, to bring that awareness, to share those best practices. So, for example, in 2019, Unitel signed on to a partnership with Huawei, international company that everyone knows. They have a corporate social responsibility program called Seeds for the Future. And it's a program that for 2 weeks, a group of students, university students, will travel to China and spend those 2 weeks with Huawei, visiting their labs where they are working on things like Internet of Things, 5G, cloud computing, and a number of sort of the developments that are in the forefront of this field. And they get to experience that firsthand and see the practical applications of that, so that when they come back, they themselves are changed in terms of their perspective of what the future will look like, and also how they can contribute to the development of the country. And so last year we took 10 Angolan students on that visit, 2 girls in the group of 10, because for us, connectivity has particular opportunities, not just for young people, but for women as well, or young women as well. And they had this opportunity that was life changing. I actually went to the closing ceremony of their program in Shenzhen, China, and it was interesting to see these young people that I'd seen 2 weeks before here in Luanda, as we said goodbye to them, and then meeting up with them after those 2 weeks. That may seem to a lot of us like a very short period of time, but the impact that it had to just open their eyes was
Yeah.
tremendous. And we need to do more of that, more exposure of our children to the
Yeah.
true benefits of technology, because once they see what's possible, then they know that they themselves can make it come about.
True story. And talking about education and investment, do you think investment in education and infrastructure match the fresh idea of the youth, African youth? Do you, and how do you think it could match actually?
I think it can. I think it can be quite complementary. I think, well, speaking of education in particular, we need to change the mindset around education completely. So if you think that in most countries today, the people that are in government, they're my age or above, I'm 50 years old, and many of them still think very traditionally about school. So there's a teacher in front of a classroom, the children are sitting in rows, facing forward. The teacher is the god of the classroom. Whatever he or she says is the truth. The children aren't encouraged to challenge or to question, quite to the contrary. Today, with technology, what you have with the access to the internet is that the whole world is the library for learning. If children are learning, if they're sitting in Angola learning about winter and snow, they can actually go online and see what that looks like, as opposed to just someone describing it to them. The way that children can learn today is quite different than we did. They in terms of developing their analytical skills, their critical reasoning skills. And so we need to start incorporating these things into the classroom. So yes, we can build the infrastructure, the big buildings, etc. But are we putting connectivity into those buildings? Are we bringing in the internet? Are we training our teachers to be able to use the internet as a teaching tool, as we see happening all over the world today, including in many countries in Africa? We are really changing how we do that. And what that does is it teaches children how to think, not what to think. And once they're taught how to think, that matches up with their own natural desire for change and their natural curiosity. And I think that's where they meet up. But if we don't do that, I think that we as a continent will lag further and further behind, because as you go to places like to China, the United States, many places in Europe, children are learning at a faster pace, and they're being taught to think for the future and prepare for the future. And we're all going to live in the same future. There isn't a future for Africa and one for Europe. It's the same future. And so how do we equally prepare our children, even with the limitations that we have, whether it be financial, social, cultural, because all those things play into it as well. So we as UNITEL, we have been doing things like scholarship programs for girls to study in the telecom sector. We're doing high school professional training for boys and girls, so that they can enter the workplace, providing services to telecom companies. The program that I cited, which was Seeds for the Future, and one really interesting one that we started implementing last year that we call UNITEL Code, which is to teach programming to young children, or the notions of programming to young children. And we purposely are doing these in public schools, as well as with orphanages that UNITEL works with around the country. So 2019, we trained over 500 children. This year with COVID, we were sort of in a quandary what to do. We took it online. We created some resources to be able to do it online. And many of these children are from, as I said, orphanages or families that are quite poor. But we expect to train about 200 kids until the end of the year. This is to start planting those seeds. Our children are just as capable as children from anywhere else in the world. We do need to give them opportunity.
True. Let me read that comment. Joyita just say Angola is ahead in terms of nation branding and some other thing. What would Mrs. Carvalho advise to other countries? Can we have?
Sure. I think it's about priorities. I think that resources are scarce for most countries in Africa, and we're usually dealing with a number of issues, whether it be war, poverty, hunger, climate issues, whatever it may be. But one of the things that we are really focused here in UNITEL, and it's very aligned with the plans that our government has for development of countries, the focus on education. Education is key. Technology is a tool that can really leverage that out in scale. You can really scale it up through technology. So if you only have one university professor that specializes in a particular area, before the people that were allowed to have that experience would be the 30 or 40 at that university. Today, we're working on putting that online and having access throughout the country. So I think that investing in education and investing in technology is key. Any country that is not doing that will not see fruit in the future.
That's true. And we talked a lot about kids, about youth, and you talked about women as well. So how does UNITEL, and thanks Joytel, sorry, thank you for the answer, but how does UNITEL empower women with technology maybe, and what are your initiatives for women?
Sure. As I spoke, we have a program called Women for the Future. It's a scholarship program. Every year, 50 scholarships to girls who have concluded high school with very high grades and want to study in the telecom sector. And then they benefit also from a UNITEL mentor during those 4 years. There's a full scholarship. It covers all costs. And the ones who have the best performance then will do internship with us. And if they perform well in internship, they'll be offered a work contract. Another area where, so there's sort of the fruits of the revenues from our telecom company being used in that way. Another one, we have a program where we help women entrepreneurs to better develop their businesses through use of technology. So we started the program last year, and it's continuing on this year. This year's session just started 2 weeks ago. We have 30 women being trained, and it is about how they can better market their businesses, how can develop their businesses using technology. We really believe that when I talk about technology and education, the whole issue of gender equality and inclusion whether it's by gender or your economic status, is key. And most of our programs are mapped out in that way to not leave any one segment of the population behind.
That's amazing. You're doing a great job for women, for youth. And why another question would be, is there, because then we enter in this world, we talk a lot about women, a lot about youth, and do you maybe have a program special for women, for men, because that sometimes they feel left behind.
Sure.
So do you have something for them? Maybe they're watching us, so that's why.
Sure. For our young men, we have a very large portfolio of programs. So our corporate responsibility strategy has 5 pillars that are health, education, economic empowerment, arts and culture, and sports. And all of the programs we do, if you start with our health fairs, that we have over 20 of them per year, and we have on average 2,000 to 3,000 people that participate in those. They're free health fairs to the community. There's no distinction there for men or women. It's for everyone. 99% of our programs are for everybody. We've created these 2 specific ones for the scholarships and for these economic empowerment in particular. Otherwise, all of our programs are for everyone. We do focus a lot on young people, both men and women. UNITEL, although it's the largest telecoms company in Angola, we're a fairly young company. Average age is about 31, 32 years of age. We have a lot of young people, and so that is a very big focus for us. But yes, we want to grow the whole country. We do believe, however, that when you are supportive of women and girls' education and women economic empowerment, everybody gains from that, because we are over 50% of the population, and the remaining population is our kids. And so if we are doing well, our families will do well, our partners will do well, because I would like to think that every man wants a woman as a partner, as an empowered woman, and then society does well. So our programs, and some are for everyone. We do have some specific ones for women.
Thank you. And of course, I think we have 2 minutes left, but I know that we as women, African women, we have a big responsibility in the education. So I know that a lot of African women are watching us today. What will be your advice for these women? Because we have to empower our kids. So how can we help our kids go into the digital world, or understand it, or not only take it as an entertainment? What can we do to help our kids for the future and prepare them for the future?
Sure. What I would say to the African women that are listening, because in order to listen to us today, they have to have access to internet. So I will speak specifically to that segment. And that means that there are a number of resources online, whether they're put on by telecom companies or by nonprofit organizations, that really talk about connectivity, talk about programming, talk about this digital transformation, resources that are out there, so that we as parents can learn how to help our children navigate. And then we can also have our children not just do soccer and swimming, but also look at some of these basic skills that they need to start gaining in order to grow. Look at the school programs in your areas. If they have these areas, make sure your kids are learning about it, because that it really is the way of the future. So it's, again, is gathering information yourself and creating a better future for your children.
Thank you, Mrs. Carvalho. And a last word, maybe for those who are following us, or those who will follow us a bit later.
I think it's again, I think one, to congratulate again the organizers, because I think it's very important that we as Africans be talking about what is going on in our countries. We learn from each other. I think that's something that we could do a lot more. As I do this work, I'm forever impressed and proud of the things I hear that are going on in Ghana, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in refugee camps in Southern Sudan. They have programs for kids to be online and doing their learning online. And I think if they can do that in a refugee camp, why can't we do that in Luanda? And so I think it's this information sharing, these connections that we will be making today as we listen to one another. How can we leverage that beyond here, so that we're not just talking about it, but we're really learning from each other and doing something about it?
Yeah. Thanks a lot for being with us, and thanks a lot for following us. Thanks to the technical team who is doing an amazing job, and thanks to the Tropic Business Summit who gave us the chance to have a nice talk today about technology, about the future of our kid, about the future of Africa. Thanks a lot, and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Oh, we still have some time. I wanted to respect, but I think the technical team still leave us some time. So
they're letting us some time. I guess I think they said they have 3 minutes. So then I want to tell you about one program that we do have that I think is just reflects really well the importance of